Want to achieve network marketing success? Then you're in the right company. Hello, and welcome to Leave Nothing to Chance, hosted by networking marketing giant, John Solleder. Learn everything you need to know about the network marketing space from somebody who's actually done it. Join us every week for front row seats as we feature some of the finest and most successful personalities in network marketing. Leave nothing to chance. Join us now.
Well, welcome everybody to Leaving Nothing to Chance. It's my privilege today to introduce a new guest to the show, and that is Mr. Andre Notis from beautiful Houston, Texas. How are you today, Andre?
Oh man, I'm happy, healthy, and wealthy, sir.
I love that. I love that. So, what are you happy about today?
I'm happy to be on this podcast with you today. I'm happy that things are coming in order. I'm happy to meet more individuals that are working towards what I'm working towards. I'm happy to, I'm really big on networking and collaborating with other individuals. So I'm happy for that.
And you always say that you're healthy also. So, what did you do today? Have you been to the gym today or run today,
I
walk
went
the
to the
dog? What
gym
did you do?
today. I did. I went to the gym I got there late. I got there about 9. I'm usually there about 6. I went late today, but I did go.
And the wealthy part, what did you do today to build your business?
Great question. I made a few phone calls and I made 3 appointments today as well. So I'm real big on cultivating relationships because you never know where that relationship can take you. So I cultivate relationships every day.
We were just talking about this when we came on, that you've got one of the best last names I think I've ever seen for somebody that's in coaching like you are, and marketing like you are, and real estate sales as you are, and your last name of Notice. And I notice it on your hat, I notice it on your email, I notice it on your Facebook.
Yeah, man.
That's a God thing, man. He gave you the right
That's a
last
good
name.
100%. I couldn't have said it better myself. I don't take the blame, but I give him the credit.
Well, so tell me, how do you utilize that in marketing?
Yeah, so I use my Instagram is actually You Will Notice Me. So I use You Will Notice Me from time to time. It's also a hashtag of mine. I also use Notice Me Now, or I may say Notice Andre. So I have different ways I utilize it to my advantage.
Great, great. Yeah, it's well, we could probably go back and forth, come up with 10,000 ideas on that one.
Yep.
That's,
Yep. My uncle would tease me. He would call me growing up, he would call me not ice because it's also a compound word.
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, yeah, I get that. I get that. But now everything in your life is going really well. You're successful, but it wasn't always that way. So let's go back a bit. How did you stay motivated when things didn't go as planned and you were living in your car and about to give up? What changed?
Great question. I really contribute that to a couple of things. Number one being my faith. I'm a big believer in Christ, and he's the source and the foundation. The next thing was personal development. I literally stayed connected to the same audios and videos, listening to Jim Rohn, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, the same individuals that we name as pioneers. I would listen to them over and over and over again, and I would gain inspiration. And I realized that they all had a story, and this was just my story.
Hmm.
And then another thing I did was I played basketball. It kept me sane. So I found something physically to do to take my mind off of my circumstance and my situation because I realized the moment that I was on that court, I wasn't thinking about my situation. I was just focusing on being there in that moment. So those
Hmm.
were a few things that I did.
Now, how has that helped you? Because that's an interesting, what you just said, be in the moment. Because everybody in life goes through, ups and downs. I mean, I don't know anybody that, their life is all good. I think, sometimes we look at some of the super successful people, be it in athletics or entertainment, we think, oh yeah, they don't have any problems. And then you read that, a family member's got, cancer or some debilitating disease, or maybe they've got something, or whatever. So it's, no, nobody, it's been 100 billion people roughly on the planet. Nobody's gotten out alive yet, right? So everybody goes through their stuff. So let's go to that for a minute. So when you would play basketball, you could be in the moment, playing with other guys, getting a sweat, getting the endorphins up, et cetera, all that physically and mentally good for you. But how did you stay in that moment to not have that in your head? Well, okay, when this ends, these guys go back to their houses. and I'm going back to my car. How did you get past that?
I don't think I had to think about it because it's passion. I've always been passionate about the game of basketball. So when you really love something when you're really doing something that you love, you immerse yourself in it, and you're in it while you're in it, while you're doing it. So that I didn't have to think about or think about what it's like to not be in my situation. I'm just living in the moment because I'm passionate about what it is that I'm doing as I'm on this court. So whether it's trash talking with the guys, whether it's the camaraderie, whether it's the networking, whether it's the competitive drive that I have, all those things, I'm immersed in that and I'm focusing on that for that particular moment.
Great. And let's talk about fear. Um, you had to be fearful then. Okay. How did you work through that end of things, right? Living in your car, dangerous too, right? I mean, let's face it, you're asleep in your car and, who knows, what could happen. I mean, obviously a lot of things could happen. Did anything happen? You have any crazy experiences during that time? And how did you overcome the fear?
You know what? The second night, because I didn't know where to go. And the first night, I'm like, where do I even park? I tried Walmart. It was too loud, too noisy, too bright. So the second night, I actually went to a park, and I was in a parking lot. And in the middle of the night, boom, 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 I was woken up to somebody banging on the window. And when I woke up, opened my eyes, I was in the back seat. I saw flashlights. I'm like, what the hell's going on? It was a police officer and the park was closed. He said, "I'm sorry, you can't be here. The park is on, but why are you here?" And he ran my plates and he put me in the back seat of his car and he said, "I can run you in right now. You have 7 warrants." Because I just had unpaid tickets, because I didn't have the money to pay it. So that was my first experience. So that happened. And after that, I said, "Where can I go? I need to go somewhere that's 24 hours." And I recognized that I can go to a hotel. So I went to a hotel parking lot and I would sleep there. But to overcome the fear, I don't believe that all fear has to be eradicated for you to act. I believe that you can actually use that emotion to your advantage. So I never eradicated the fear. I just learned to decrease the fear, and you decrease the fear through your thoughts and through your actions. So I continued to work and I continued to focus on what it was that I really wanted. I continued to focus on what I saw. I continued to see myself speaking on stages, talking about the things that I'm going through at this particular moment. And that's what it was. It was my thoughts and it was my actions. And I kept that before me every day.
So for people listening that are having difficult times themselves right now, you're in that circumstance.
Yeah.
You see yourself as truly who you are, a super successful guy, super motivational for other people, and that this period was a temporary period in your life. But when did you get to the day that turned your life around? What happened? When did that paradigm shift happen where all of a sudden you got out of the car and you got eventually into real estate? Was that a month, 6 months, a year? Tell us about the process.
Great question. So I was actually still in real estate that's what I was doing when I was in this time frame. I was full time in real estate. I got my license in 2004. This happened in 2014, 15. So I was in my car because I wasn't producing enough in real estate and I wasn't willing to go back to get a job. I didn't want to go backwards to where I just came from. So I was willing because I had no children, it was just me. Now, if I had kids, I would have stuck it out and got a job and took care of my family. But since I realized it was just me, I was willing to put my belongings in my car after my dad kicked me out and said, I'm going to figure this thing out. And that's what I did. So the turning point for me was realizing that I was going to make it on my terms because of my talent, skills, strategy, and my sweat equity. And that's what it was for me.
Interesting. How long were you in the car for?
I was homeless for 3 years. I was in the car for 3 months of those
Three
3 years.
months. Wow. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, so when I say homeless, I was sleeping in couches, floors, beds of friends or family for a while. At one point, I was in a one-bedroom apartment, and in that one bedroom, I was there with four other adults and a child.
Mm,
We all shared one car.
amazing. Amazing. Well, you've overcome a lot. That's for sure. And meantime, you're showing other people houses, right? Where you're probably thinking, wow, I just camp out here if I could, right?
I'm showing houses and I had no home. How you a homeless realtor?
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Is
Right. So imagine, and this is a true story. Imagine I realized that my car was tinted. And if you looked in the back seat, you couldn't really see. I had a whole bunch of clothes and stuff in the back seat. So I took two black jackets and I put them over the clothes so that if you looked in my car, you wouldn't see what was going
Mm,
on. So I was smart to do that. And I would literally show homes and then I would go back to work at either a Starbucks or Panera Bread, or there was a tile company that had an office that I could work out of temporarily. So I would rotate between those three places and I would work and I would go show houses and I'd come back and then I would go to 24-hour fitness to take a shower, brush my teeth, play basketball, and then call it a night, go back in the car, sleep in front of the hotel, and repeat the next day. And I did that for 3 months.
amazing, amazing. Well, that's an amazing story, and you overcame a lot, and here you are. So all of a sudden, okay, you get out of the car. Now, next step, right? You're already obviously in the real estate business, right? When did things start to turn? And more importantly, how did you mentally turn them? Because this just didn't happen. This is a result of you doing some actions, obviously, that were the right actions.
Yeah, so I believe what the word says. It says, be thou transformed by the renewing of your mind. So when it comes to renewing your mind, when it comes to building a mindset, that's a daily process. It's not a one-time thing. And it's why I'm a mindset coach now, because I realize the power that it takes to recondition the mind. So I was literally feeding myself the same things every single day that was reconditioning my mind for what I wanted it to believe about myself. It's impregnating the subconscious mind. So it was constantly keeping the goals before me, having the mindset of being a successful entrepreneur before me, listening to the same audio tapes. And when you're doing that, you're reconditioning your mind if you're doing it on a regular, consistent, repetitive basis. And that's what I did.
Wow, wow. And did you ever hear the data turns your life around that Jim Rohn talks about? One of his sessions
Yep.
is that
Yep.
day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was for him. It was when the little girl came to his door and he was trying to he had to lie to her because he couldn't afford to buy a bar of candy, and he realized he said I would never be in a situation again where I can't afford to
That's
buy a
right.
piece of candy for a girl. And
That's
the
right.
next time they came around, he bought a whole box from the young lady.
And he
Yeah,
said, always with the Girl Scout cookies, buy the whole box.
right, right. I know.
Don't eat
Look,
them, but buy them.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I know the stories. I know the stories. But that's
I
what kept me. He had that story. Eric Thomas had a story. He was sleeping, he was eating out of garbage cans. Steve Harvey was homeless while he's trying to get on the Apollo. You know, Tyler Perry was sleeping in his car for 5 years. All these people had stories. I
yeah.
realized that this was just my story. It wasn't going to last like this forever.
Well,
And
I'll
I
tell
kept
you,
that for me.
I just read a guy I interviewed a couple of weeks ago, a guy named Dennis Henson. He another real estate guy up here in Dallas, and he wrote a book, and in there had the story of how Sylvester Stallone had the script for Rocky, but he lived in the bus station in LA while he was shopping it, and nobody was buying it, and he had some very low offers for it, and he said, "Hey, I need to be acting in it. I need to be involved with it." And people were willing to buy it off him, and he said, "No, they're just going to bury it. It's going to." And look what he did, right? And then I met a couple of years ago. Fellow spoke at one of our conventions from San Francisco. He was homeless, had a little boy. Will Smith played him in the movie, and now his name escapes me. You know who I'm talking about?
Chris Gardner.
Yes, Chris Gardner. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
great guy.
the stockbroker.
Yeah, yeah, great guy. Say, it's amazing, and we're not promoting people losing their home and doing this, but
Not at all.
Andre is such a leader as a man and as an example. And now he's super successful, by the way. Okay. And sometimes people think, well, somebody's successful and they were given all of this stuff and they're given all these opportunities. Hey, here's a man who lost everything, lived in his car, went to work every day, right? Did what he had to do to survive. And now he's successful and he went through that. So let's talk about discipline. because obviously you had to be disciplined let's face it, not lose it, right? You're on the streets. There's a lot of opportunities to do the wrong thing, be it drugs, alcohol, who knows what else is out there, right? I mean, most of us who've never lived on the streets, I mean, we have an idea, but that's all we want is an idea. And we go, oh, well, let's stay away from that. I mean, you actually lived it. You were in that circumstance. How did you keep that discipline? Okay. And you talked about it a little bit already with your faith, obviously, in the Lord and the great self-development stuff you were listening to. But what are the other things that we're missing?
It was the consistency, because you can start something and not finish it. And I realized that I had to be consistent. There were other agents that were doing so well, and I realized they weren't better than me. They were just doing things different than I was, and I was focusing on the wrong thing. So I had to shift my focus for what I was actually doing. So it comes down to shifting your focus and discipline. I like Brian Tracy's definition of discipline. It's the ability to make yourself do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. And I realize that most people are not disciplined because they do things based on how they feel. So if they don't feel like doing a thing, they don't do it. Well, you won't reach the success like that, because success comes from doing things regardless of how you feel. Oftentimes, those things are going to be outside of your comfort zone. So you have to learn to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I was already in an uncomfortable position and situation, so I had to make sure that I utilized that to my advantage by doing those things that I didn't feel like doing, and do them consistently.
Interesting. Well, okay, so let's jump forward now. So we're past that part of that the negative, right? The difficult time, right? Which as an outsider, it sounds negative, but you probably grew more as a person in that time period than you ever will grow again.
Definitely.
Because you had to deal with circumstances that a normal person just can't even fathom. You got a roof over your head, and this time of year the heat's on, and the summer the air conditioning's on, and the food store's around the corner. Yeah, I may not have a lot of money, but I can go and afford something. That's most Americans, most Canadians, most Europeans, most of the people listening to our call live in those markets. Some live in other markets with some other challenges. But at the end of the day, you overcame them. So now you overcome them. Now you're back on your feet. Now you're living in a home environment, right? You get your own place, obviously.
Yeah.
And you decide, hey, I've been through this dark period of my life. Now I want to take that and I want to shed light for other people by teaching them some of what I learned, and also help them apply things within their respective business. Now, real estate's your passion, I believe.
So I was actually coming out of the position where I understood that being in real estate allowed me the knowledge to be able to do home buying seminars. So I would host those. And from hosting those seminars, people would see me doing that, and friends would reach out to me and ask me to do career days. And I would go to the middle schools, high schools, elementary schools, and I would just share my knowledge of real estate and how I got into it and things like that with the kids. And I enjoy doing that. Other friends reach out to me and ask me to speak on podcasts. This is long before podcast was a thing like it is right now.
Oh, yeah.
It was very minimal, but I would speak on platforms like that. And that's how I started speaking. But at the same time, friends or strangers or family would reach out to me and let me know some of the personal things that they were dealing with. And I developed the skill of listening. I wouldn't judge, I wouldn't speak, I would just listen. And then I would have feedback for them. And the feedback that I gave them was often well received. And I realized that I had knowledge there, and I had a lot of answers to people's questions. I was like, man, people keep asking these questions and I feel like I have the answer to them. And it just became a continual, gradual thing. And after God had me do a 21-day water fast, he told me my purpose was to lead and inspire and motivate, encourage. And he gave me the title to the book. Now, I can't come up, I'm a bright individual, but I ain't that bright. But he told me the title to the book is called Your Purpose Is Not For You. You can barely see the gray because of the color, but it's called Your Purpose Is Not For You. He gave me this title like 2016 or so. I didn't write anything for 6 years, but I had a title. So that's how I gradually became into the space, is from doing it without realizing what I was actually doing.
Interesting. Let's talk about the book for a second. So where can they get it?
Yeah, so the book is called Your Purpose Is Not For You. It's a step-by-step guide to helping you understand what your purpose is and why it's not for you. Your purpose just basically means why you're living, why you're existing, why you're here. And if you don't know what it is, it's possible that you're working at a job that you don't want to be. It's possible that you feel unfulfilled, you feel unsatisfied, you feel unhappy, you're not happy about getting up in the morning, you're going to a place you don't want to be. That's when you don't know what your purpose is. And I get it. I've been there. I understand it. So if that is who you are, you can go to mycoachandre.com and you can get the book from there. And I have two other co-author books as well.
Great, great. Well, I'll certainly be getting the book, and I would encourage everybody else to as well, because you've lived a phenomenal life, and you've turned a negative to a positive, and you've
Yeah.
inspired a lot of people. But let's stay on this track, okay? Because I know you do a lot of coaching, obviously realtors, but obviously, network marketing people, which are a lot of our audience as well. Anybody who's self-employed. I mean, if you work for yourself, look, we all know there's challenges. And by the way, don't let me forget to come back to the 21-day water fast, because you and I have that in common. Like we talked about the other day. And I'm about to start a 10-day tomorrow, by the way, if you want to join
Wow.
me. Yeah, it's, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about that. Coaching, okay. Philosophy of coaching, and how can you help some of the folks that listen to our show to grow?
Yeah, absolutely. So most people live and die, and they never find out why they were even here because of fear. But if you want to know what you're created for, you got to go back to the creator. I help people find that purpose and more. Hello, my name is Coach Andre. I'm your poetic purpose coach, and I help individuals. I push people to pursue purpose.
Give me some more poetry, man. That was great.
You like that?
I like that. That was beautiful. Dude, no, that was beautiful. So
You want some more?
I want some more. They want, come on, the audience is they'll be bugging me. Believe me, if you don't give more, they're going to be bugging me for it. I'm going to be bugging you for it. So you might as well give us at least one more. Come on.
I'm the rhyming realtor for your dream home when you need to buy or sell. I'm the purpose coach for those that feel like they're going through hell. I am the speaker here to motivate, encourage, and inspire. I'm a poet as well. I grab the mic to spit bars of fire. The book that I wrote is changing lives as well. A servant is what I am on a mission to serve, not sell. When it's all said and done, I help others reach their full potential by helping them find their purpose to find true joy. It is essential. Coach Andre is my name and inspiration is who I be. It is true. I live to give, and you will notice me.
Love it, man. Beautiful, 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 and beautiful words, by the way, and beautiful sentiments. More importantly, and it's amazing. I think it was Churchill. I think it was Churchill. It was either about him or he said it. Churchill would write a speech, and most politicians don't even write their own speeches, but he would write his own speeches. I lived in England for a time, and I became fascinated by Churchill. And he would write a speech, and he would sit there and, like, here's my notes for our show, for example. He would sit there and he would wordsmith that thing, and he would change a word 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times in the course of a preparation for a speech. And what was said about him, I guess he didn't say that, and I can't tell you who said it about him. Somebody obviously in that era said he could galvanize a word and send it into battle. And you think about the circumstances that he had to deal with, right? With getting bombed every single night, literally, and people killed left, right, and center, and being under attack. And he had to motivate these people to hang in there during this very difficult time. And a word he would wrestle with to make sure that was the right word, because he was sending it into battle every time that he would give a speech. And that's kind of what you just gave there. It's like, hey, here's who I am, here's what I can do, and here's how I can help you.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully, most people listening to us, hopefully, are not, in some kind of a predicament like that, but they're in other predicaments. They're in financial predicaments. They're in personal predicaments. They're maybe in relationship predicaments. Maybe they're people who've lost their faith. There's people out there that go through that dilemma, especially around this time of year, around the holidays, for some reason, et cetera, et cetera. So your words are beautiful. So coaching. We'll go through again at the end, because I want to talk about a couple other things here, and I want people to remember, because you know how people are at the end. They'll forget, oh yeah, the guy said his thing, but I was too far back, I don't want to go. So we'll come back to how they can reach you in a minute. Let's talk about 21-day water fasting. Okay, so what made you take the step? You tell me, I'll tell you my story with it.
Man, I never fasted a day in my life. I never planned on doing this. I was literally going through life just working and taking care of business. And I realized that whether I turned on the TV or I went outside to a grocery store or wherever, everywhere I turned around, somebody was talking about fasting. And I'm like, why do I keep hearing fasting everywhere? I just asked, like, God, are you telling me to fast? John, I kid you not. I will never forget this. I was walking through Walmart and God spoke to me like I heard him, like I hear your voice right now. And I'm walking through Walmart talking audibly to the point where the person that works at Walmart is speaking to me. I said, I'm no, I'm sorry, I'm good. He hears me talking. I'm actually talking to God. And I'm like, fast. I ain't never fasted a day in my life. So I prayed. I said, if this is you, I need you to confirm it and let me know what I'm fasting from. And he told me, and as I was asleep, 21 days, only water. And I prayed, I said, confirm it. If you said it, I know I heard it, confirm it. And it happened. He said, 21 days, only water. This is your confirmation. That's all he said. Immediately, I started preparing. I started listening to Dr. Miles Monroe on fasting.
Mhm.
I started, I told her just, I didn't tell anybody. I think I told two friends and my parents. That's it. Because in Matthew 6, it talked about when you're fasting, it's between you and God.
Mhm.
But I told just a couple people just so that they can pray for me because I had never fasted a day in my life. So I prepared, I set a date, and I did it. And that's exactly what happened. This is 2015. I still have the YouTube video on one of my pages, my channels, the day I finished fasting. I wish I would have recorded each day, but it didn't cross my mind. But I still have the video from when I completed the fast. I lost 30 pounds and I hated it. And yeah, it was a whole process, a whole experience. But after I finished that, he had me meet a woman that became his voice to me. He would speak to her, she'd speak to me through her, and she was a blessing that I needed.
Interesting. Well, we're frozen for a second. Can you hear me okay, Andre?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I lost you for a second. We froze up. We should be able to edit this. If we can't, we can redo certain parts of it. But yeah, my story, real quick, is similar to yours. I did a 10-day water fast during COVID, medically supervised, and then that was in 2020. This past year, I went 100% vegan on January 1st. And the guy who was coaching me, who's still coaching me, is in Argentina. And he says, part of this, he goes, at some point, you're going to want to do a water fast. And I said, well, I've done one in the past, and I've done some short ones in 3 days and 5 days. He said, well, you're going to have to do 21 days. And like most people, I was like, 21 days. Well, the problem is 21 days, as you know from doing it, you're not running the streets. Like, you're not going to the gym. You're not working hard. You're not leaving the house unless you absolutely have to.
Yep.
You got to lay low because all of a sudden you can be talking like you and I are. 5 minutes later, you go, hey, I'm asleep for an hour. And and to get the benefit, you got to do it that way. So some people think they can go run marathons and fast. And it's like, and I guess they do, but that's not the right way to do it from a health standpoint. So, yeah, I started, it was June 10th this year, and I wanted to be done by 4th of July because it's 4th of July and we have a big party here every summer. And I said, well, I want to be done by then and refeeding because refeeding is, as you know, is so important. It's not like okay, well, I didn't eat for, 21 days. Now let me go eat. It's like, no, yeah, you got to do it gradually or you can really get sick. So I did it. And it's so spiritual, and I think it's because the blood just goes to your brain because it's not going to your stomach, that you get more in touch with God. And, I would have those similar conversations with him 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when I would be wide awake, and noon I'd be asleep. But I'd have these conversations with them, and just a life-changing experience. So not to mention the health change, but yeah, same thing. I mean, I dropped a bunch of weight, felt a lot better. My joints felt a lot better. So now I'm doing a 10-dayer just to kind of finish the year. I'm saying I'm doing 10. It might be 7, but what,
That's still good. That's still good.
once she gets past 5, I just want to reset going into the new year. Just kind of, hey, just be ready for battle. And just give my body a best fighting chance. So that's what I'm doing. But let's come back. Let's come back to you. And your shirt kind of says it all. So, realtor, speaker, purpose coach, author, poet, and most important is the last word, I think, servant. So talk
100%.
about how everything you do serves other people and how that comes back to you.
The bottom line is it's the bottom because people say that should be the top. Well, no, that's the bottom line. The bottom line is I'm a servant. That's why there's a line there. So every single day, all I do is hope. What does that mean? Hope, HOPE. Help one person every day. Every day I wake up, I pick up my phone and I see who can I be a blessing to. That's it. I cultivate relationships. I see who can I serve. How can I serve them? Every single day. That's all I do.
Love it. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, you wouldn't be the first.
Help one person every day. Beautiful, beautiful. So let's just remind everybody, they can get your books on Amazon, or how do they get your books?
No, mycoachandre.com. Mycoachandre.com.
mycoachandre.com.
Yep.
And then get in touch with you for coaching.
Yeah, you can go to mycoachandre.com, or you can go to my YouTube channel. I actually have I just released a brand new free training on how to find your purpose. It's like a 10-minute long video. I go through the process to find your purpose. And that free training is actually on my Instagram at You Will Notice Me. You can go to the bio and the links, and it's there as well.
So You Will Notice Me is your Instagram.
Yep.
And your YouTube is under your name?
Yeah, it's Coach Andre Notice. And you can and I'm on Google. You can Google me as well. Very simple.
Closing thoughts. So we're doing this interview. We're going to air it on YouTube probably next week, but on my regular Leaving Nothing to Chance, we'll put it on there and we'll air it for that audience, which goes to Spotify and all of the different networks on January. I think it's the 5th or 6th, but I'll confirm that with you. But as we get into the new year, people like yourself, you have goals for 2025.
Yeah.
Our listeners hopefully have goals for 2025.
Right.
How can they achieve better in 2025 than they did in 2024? What can they change? What can they, continue to do, etc. Make 2025 the best year ever?
Hire a coach. I really mean that. Everybody, even the coach needs a coach. We have to have somebody that's gonna do 1, hold us accountable, 2, push us, and 3, pull us forward, and 4, show us the steps that we need to take to get to where we want to go.
Well, Andre, it's been a privilege, and I appreciate it so much. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and continued success, and continue to be the servant and the guy that you are, because I know you're helping tons and tons of people, and you're inspirational, my friend. So really appreciate the time.
I receive it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Leave Nothing to Chance. If you want to know more about what it takes to succeed in the network marketing space, join us again next week for another amazing episode. For additional resources and to connect with John Solleder, visit leavingnothingtochance.com. Don't forget to leave a review, and we'll see you next time.